Hey everybody, Boats Don't Sink. This is Connor. I'm here with the ReZero Memory Snow overview. Set just released in English. It's a little bit of a different one. It is Neo standard with the rest of ReZero, but it has some, mainly a separate trait that makes it not really super playable with the old ReZero stuff for the most part. So it does act more as like a standalone set. But without further ado, here are my top 10 cards from the set. This is a pretty cool one. It's lots of aggressive. It's a lot more aggressive than regular ReZero. The old stuff we've always seen more like early play heavy, defensive stall centric decks. Whereas Memory Snow, we'll see through these 10 cards, has a lot more of an aggressive lean to it. But the first card I'm going to start out here with is I Worked Hard Rem. This card's real interesting. It's not something I would always include in the deck. It's a very meta-dependent card as to whether or not it's going to be worth playing. It's a pay 1, rest 2, search brainstorm. So that's pretty typical. Not ideal. You'd like it to be rest self. But it's the other effect that we're really going to be looking at here. Continuous if all of your characters are Memory Snow. This card gets the following ability. Auto, during the climax phase or attack phase, when your or your opponent's character is placed onto the stage from the waiting room due to the respective player's card effects, all characters on that player's center stage get -X power until end of turn. X is equal to the cost of the character placed on the stage times 2,000. So what this means is that if your opponent plays a 2-1 from their waiting room, all of their center stage characters can get -2,000. If you play a 2-2, they'll all get -4,000. If you have multiple rims, which is the goal here, that's going to stack, right? So they play a 2-1, they're now -4,000. If they play a 2-2, they're -8,000. So your goal playing this card is to always have 2 of it in your backstage, right? The main thing that jumps to people's minds is standby, right? All of these decks that might be playing standbys, any in the future that come out, we've seen a standby theme in Adventure Time already. If your opponent standbys out their 2-2 at level 1, cool, -8,000 to their center stage. This means that sometimes, if your opponent triggers a standby, they just kill their characters in the middle of the attack phase. So they pretty much have to decline the standby at that point. And no matter really how big their board is, no deck can afford to standby twice in one turn. So like the 8 standby Fujimi decks, they can't play one from their hand, get their 3-2 like global 15, and then afford to standby again if they trigger one. Their board just dies at that point. So you do effectively shut off standby, which again, that's more of a meta-relevant thing. Right now, most of these standby decks are sitting a little lower than the top tier. Some of them, JoJo, Apocrypha, even a little lower than that. And like Goblin Slayer, we see a lot of Priestess, not as much of the standby. Bang Dream, whether or not we see standby, we don't really know yet. So very meta dependent. It's a card that can be very good at your like local meta if you're doing shop challenges and stuff, and you know people like standby. But there's a couple other things it hits that aren't just standby. So we've got changes. If you're playing against Attack on Titan, right, they change their Mikasa into the field swap. Boom, -8,000 to their center stage. That's going to kill any Aaron combos they did. It's going to kill any of, like, just random, well, so it might not kill Aaron combos. Those gain a lot of power when they attack. But, in general, it's going to kill, like, a lot of things that they might have played just to swing with, right? That they had the field swap option with, so they play like the Armin 1-0 that reveals top 3. If you kill that with this effect, they can't field swap into it. Card Captor, if they try to change their Sakuras, if they change once, it's -8,000 to their center stage, which might get rid of any 1-0s that they're planning on attacking with that turn. If they change twice, it blows up their entire board. It just doesn't matter. Both of their early plays are dead, everything. 16,000 is just a lot of power. So yeah, you get to beat out changers. The other thing that people don't really think of very often is Encore. since the encore step is the last step of the attack phase, if you reverse one of your opponent's characters, say you have like a plus 6,000 against level 3s, right, and you reverse your opponent's ran early play, and they decide to encore it, well, that's, minus 8,000 to your board if you have 2 rims, minus 4,000 if you only have 1. And that minus 8,000 could very well kill other characters that attacked and survived, or that you attacked into and didn't reverse. Things like Goblin Slayer, right? If they encore their 2/2 10k Goblin Slayer, and they encore it, it comes back minus 8,000 to their center stage. That might, kill their 1-0 combo. And then when they lose those 2 slots, the minus 8,000 on the 2/2, if they don't have extra power from their back row, it's going to kill the 2/2 again. Though usually I feel like if they have the standby, they're going to have like a global 1k or something behind it, hopefully. But if they don't, they can't encore it, or else they lose their entire board. So there's a lot of things like that where it just has weird use cases, right? So really unique card, really cool card. Very meta dependent. So let's really leave that one at. I do think this card is worth looking at any point, especially like Data Live is on the schedule, and Adventure Time has standbys, and Fate Grand Order, I believe, often plays standby. So, it might always be something to look at, like, maybe now I put this into my deck. Moving on to number 9, we have the Horrific Mayonnaise Human. So this is an event card. If you do not have a character with Rim in its card name, this card cannot be played from your hand. Look at up to 7 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 That's Not It Rim or Praise Me aura from among them. Reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, and you shuffle the rest back into your deck. The 2 cards it can grab are your level 1 combo Rim and its Climax. So it's very good for consistency on your combo, right? People always complain about, oh, if I had drawn I lost because I didn't draw my level 1 combo's Climax, right? Or I only got one of my level 1 combo character, or whatever. This lets you focus on searching the rims, and if you don't just draw the Climax, you play the Horrific Mayonnaise Human, and if you haven't drawn one yet, there's probably one in the top 7 cards of your deck. It's also really good once you move into like 2nd deck and 3rd deck after you've refreshed, if you're trying to play the combo more, because at that point you're quite compressed probably, hopefully, and have a much higher chance of actually hitting the Climax or more of the 1-0 off of it. So it's just kind of a cool consistency thing that helps you recur this combo over and over again. It's more for recursion than anything. This set does have an on-play discard a Climax to salvage. So very infrequently, there'll be a time where you might play the event to get the Climax out of your deck, and then you play the level 0 to discard the Climax and salvage. Kind of a weird roundabout way of doing things, but it provides options with the card. Usually as the game goes on, you'll stick more and more of these into your level, just because you don't really need to... Once you compress more, you're drawing Climaxes more naturally anyway. You don't really need to dig for them. So the number of copies of this card you need as the game goes on gets less and less. But yeah, overall it is a pretty solid card. It's definitely something like, in Attack on Titan, I wish I could check top 7 for my Climax. Come on. Looking at number 8, it is actually the level 1 combo that goes with the Mayonnaise Human. It's a 1/0/45. If you have 2 or more other Memory Snow characters, it gets 1,000 power, so it's a 55 base. And on attack, if the Climax, which is a draw trigger, is in your Climax area, and you have another Memory Snow character, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, you choose a Memory Snow character or the Horrific Mayonnaise Human event, reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, put the rest into the waiting room, and this gets +1 level until end of turn. This is obviously going to seem familiar to ReZero players. It's basically the Emilia combo. It's a little bigger on defense, a little smaller on offense, but it does gain a level, so it's 65 with a level instead of 7. Meaning it can attack into like Love Live Sunshine, it can attack into Chica bombs. Konosuba, it can attack into like the Encore bomb. If Sword Art's playing the Keiko bomb, it can attack into that. So a few maybe slightly relevant things there. And then you're trading the ability to check top 4 with checking top 3, but you can also grab the Horrific Mayonnaise Human event. So I think overall it's a little worse than the Emilia, since 55 on defense still is not really big enough to be worthwhile compared to 5k, right? But it's comparable. This one is a little more possible to recur than Emilia, just because the event allows you to get your climax back more often, whereas base ReZero might struggle to get the climax multiple times. So overall, solid card, very solid card. At number 7, we have Memory Snow Emilia. So this is the main level 3 Emilia from the set. It has on play, if you have 2 or more other Memory Snow characters, you may choose one character in your clock and put it into your memory. So this is the same memory heal, or similar memory heal that we saw on the Rumia early play from Fujimi Fantasia Bunko. Very strong effect there, slightly less strong here. This is not an early play, so we're only getting this memory at level 3 rather than level 2. It's having impact on fewer of our deck states. But healing to memory still gets around anti-heal, so still kind of relevant. There's also only 2 healers in blue for this set, so this gives you your extra healers past the first 4, if you're wanting more healers. The climax combo is something a little different. It's modal. It has multiple different effects you can choose from. That's sort of a design trend that we're going to see moving forward. Not on a ton of finishers, but every now and then we're going to see some where we get to choose one of 2 different things to do. Unlike Kurumi, where like you didn't really get to choose, it was sort of based on on your clock. These we get to choose, and they'll usually have some kind of like light requirement. This one, if you have another Memory Snow character, right? These are pretty powerful cards. So this Climax combo, it combos with a gate trigger. When battle opponent becomes reversed, if peaceful moments in your climax area, pay 1. Any of another Memory Snow character, you may pay 1. If you do, choose one of the following effects and perform it. So you can put all cards in your opponent's stock into their waiting room, put the same number from top of deck into stock, and then you give one of your characters 6,000 power. So this is the same stock swap effect that we see on Buns for Luck. We see it on Present for You Ellie that I've got shown here is another level 3 with that effect. Excuse me. I don't know why I can't think of more. The Milim level 0 and the Fujimi had a level 0 Nobuna that both had on play pay 3 to do this effect. So it is a very popular, strong effect. It's a little weird doing it on reverse here, since the decompression aspect of it isn't really going to affect your first attack. But giving 6,000 power tries to make up for that. So that's your first option. Your second option is just deal 2. Right? So we see that on like Goblin Slayer, the Trial Deck level 3, on reverse, pay 3, deal 2. So this is just on reverse, pay 1, deal 2. The 2 effects are kind of synergistic to where like your first one can get a reverse, stock swap, and pump one of the other ones. And then once you've decompressed your opponent by sending their climaxes in deck to stock, and hopefully refreshing them with that, you deal 2 into like their decompressed deck state. So it is a pretty powerful finisher if you get all your reverses. Only downside is that getting all your reverses might be hard. It's only a 10k printed, so 11k. The only real way for it to gain extra power is assists or the 6,000 off the stock swap. So that can be a struggle sometimes. But overall, being a healer that's tied to a finisher makes this card very slot efficient. It doesn't have huge costs tied to it. A lot of these like healing finishers like, pay 2, discard 1, or pay 2, discard 2. And that makes them hard since they don't cantrip and they cost 2 stock. It's hard to, get all those resources. But this one's very resource efficient, very slot efficient. So overall, solid card. Only issue is getting the reverses. But if you can do that, card is great. At number 6, we have Snow Bunny. So this is the standard sort of Ricky slot that we see in a lot of sets. It's when it becomes reversed in battle, pay 1, clock 1, send this to memory, search your deck for a memory snow character, reveal it, put it in hand, and shuffle. That's all it does. It's 500 power. ReZero set 1 had this, obviously, with the Rim on play, pay 1, clock 1, search your deck for a level 1 or lower. Set 2 had the Puck that did the same thing but searched an Emilia name. This one's it's not on play like those, it's on reverse, so it's similar to the Kaede from Bunny Girl Senpai, where when it becomes reversed you pay 1, clock 1. However, the biggest difference with this one is that it sends itself to memory. These cards are historically pretty dead later in the game, since you don't want to be clocking yourself more. So sending it to memory gives you compression for the rest of the game, and you're not going to draw this card that would otherwise be pretty dead. It also does not search for level 1 or lower like most of these profiles do. It can grab any memory snow character, which is quite good. It means that if you're like doing this alongside your level 1 combo, you can search for an early play if you'd like it. Typically, you're going to be using this turn like 1 and 2 to set up for your level 1 combo, though. The other cool benefit, obviously being on reverse means your opponent could stock bomb it or whatever. Or they could, Slime has the Brainstorm that's on play, give minus 500. They could do that and kill it before they swing in. But being on reverse means you can play this turn 1 and attack, generate the stock for its own effect. I agree with this whenever we have like on death cards, right? The benefit of on death versus on play is that you can generate the resources for your own cost. So you can play this as a turn 1 play, attack, and then it gets reversed on the crackback, and you pay 1 send its memory. So good card, helps you set up pretty well. It's not amazing, doesn't have a secondary effect like a lot of these do. But it plays into the deck's theme pretty well. We have enough cards in this set that go to memory that the memory is not irrelevant. We can actually hit sort of that good memory compression level where we're getting 5, 6 memory in a game. At number 5, we have The World Reflected in Her Eyes, Emilia. This is one of the level 3s in the set. It's our early play. The first effect is going to seem pretty familiar, especially given we just had Slime release. If you have 2 or more Leave Everything to Me Rim in your memory, this card gets -1 level while in your hand. So this is the same condition that Memories of Japan Shizu had, as well as a couple other cards that I mentioned in that video. The second effect is On Play, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a level 0 or lower character, put it into your stock. This is a little more narrow than Kaede's effect. Kaede is if it's a level 1 or higher, or level 1 or lower card. This is level 0 or lower character specifically, so we miss climaxes now, and we miss level 1s. So a little more narrow on getting your stock back, but you're 1,000 power bigger because of it. And then lastly, on play, heal, just like both Shizu and Kaede. So this is our cool, like, resource efficient, hopefully, healer that we can play at level 2. Though often in this deck, this will just be like a 1-stock healer you're playing at level 3 when you need heals, rather than early playing a whole lot, since, like I said, this is an aggressive deck. We kind of want to be fielding utility, keeping control of our deck state, and just playing our heals when we need them. Unlike these 2 decks that just play heals and try to stay at level 2 forever. We have actual level 3s in this deck, so we're going to try to use them when we can. To hit the top check, since it is more narrow, there are a couple cards in the set that can help with that. Namely, the Emilia Brainstorm is the main one you're going to see. On play, look at the top card of your deck, put it on top or bottom. You can use this to try to see if there's a level 0 on top of your deck to hit the Emilia top check. There's also the Beatrice. I haven't really played this card in many lists, but it's a very interesting card. On play, reveal top, if it's level 2 or higher, put it in stock, right? So that's obviously a miss for Emilia, but if it is level 2 or 3, right, it goes to stock. So now your Emilia effectively costs 1 less anyway, and you moved a miss away, so now you might hit your level 0. So that's a really cool synergy right there. And then the Beatrice is on death, you pay 2 salvage 1. So it's a cool level 0 play as well, where you might like get an extra stock, and then when she dies, you turn it into card advantage. Number 4, this is a box topper promo. I don't like putting these on here, but this card is pretty key to the function of the deck. This is Dot Ram from Memory Snow. On play, look at the top 2 cards from your opponent's deck, put them on top in the original order, and when its damage is cancelled, you may put it into your stock. So this is sort of a love child between Lin and Haru, right? Lin has the on play check top 2 effect. Gun Gale uses this quite often just to determine when it should swing with its burn 1 on the early play to ping a climax off the top and then get real damage through, or when it should, just what order it should direct versus front in. However, when you combine it with, when you put that effect on a card that on its own carries if it cancels, you get a really synergistic, just powerful card profile. You can always just play this Ram, and if there's a climax on top, you swing with the Ram first, and it goes to stock. If there's not, you swing with one of your other characters, so you stick the damage, and then you swing with your Ram into the blind deck, and If it cancels, you get stock. If it doesn't, you get damage, right? So it's a very powerful two effects on the same card. It's a good combination of them. But the big thing is that this deck has a lot of level zeros that are like pay one stock to do their effect. And we're often brainstorming in this deck for both deck control and a little bit of card advantage. And we want to hit like 7 to 8 stock for our level 3 game. So with all those things together, you run a little short on stock in the deck, and this RAM can really help you get that extra stock to be able to actually do all of your effects throughout the game, and push like a really strong top end. So here are some of the effects, right? Like the Snow Bunny I showed, your Brainstorm. We've also got a level 0 Rim. This is the early play condition. We'll be talking about it in a little bit. But all these cost stock, so Dot RAM can make up for, all those costs. At number 3, we have Memory Snow, RAM, and Rim. This is a double rare from the set. It only has one effect. On play, you may reveal up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. If you revealed 1 or more cards, choose up to 1 Memory Snow character from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest into your waiting room, choose a card in your hand, and put it into your waiting room. This is the same effect we see on cards like Unwavering Music Yukina, Inherited Magic Talent Sistine, and Bunny Girl Senpai Mai. However, all 3 of these, and most of the profiles we've seen in English, are on reverse. On play is a much more powerful timing in this case, since you don't need the stock anyway. You can just play it and get your effect immediately. You can get main phase deck control, which is really powerful. So it helps you mill, help you control your deck. Get climaxes, extra climaxes out of your hand. Just a lot more versatile. We've seen this on play effect in Attack on Titan with Single Ray of Light Armin. This is same effect for the most part, and Attack on Titan makes very good use of this card. It's really the only one we've seen on play since then, so very good in the deck. At number 2, we have Delightful Banquet Rim. It's a main level 3 that we are looking at playing in the deck, just because of the finisher power. On play, it does require 2 or more other Memory Snow characters, which is kind of weird for this, but it looks at top 3, so pretty standard on play effect. You just have to make sure you don't miss the condition on it. Look at top 3, choose 1, put it in your hand, put the rest into your waiting room. When you climax combo is with a gate that we see here. It requires 2 of the Leave Everything to Me Rim in memory to do the effect. So you have to make sure you get those throughout the game, which is kind of where part of the stock requirement for getting everything together. It's only 7 stock to do 3 rims, but you need the 8th and 9th to actually get the zeros in memory. It's on play, you pay 1, look at the bottom 5, look at up to 5, right, from the bottom of your opponent's deck. Choose up to 1 climax from among them, put it into your opponent's clock, and put the rest into his or her waiting room. So this kind of punishes all the compression decks that are out there right now, the decks that just want to sort of end their turn with a smallish deck with a lot of climaxes in it every turn. You get to punish them pretty heavily, not only by getting an effectively uncancelable 1 damage off of a climax off the bottom of their deck. If you cause their small deck state to refresh because you're milling 5 cards per rim, you actually just, their next deck is, the compression is potentially destroyed, right? If they refresh with 2 climaxes in their clock, they're only refreshing with like 5 or 6 climaxes now instead of the 8 they were planning on. And you can get some really serious damage through against decks that wouldn't really take much damage otherwise with this rim. And it is with a gate trigger, as I said. It's a similar effect to the Kurumi that we've seen, where you put bottom 4 into waiting room and deal X. It's just so much stronger as compressed decks. Because like the Kurumi has the problem of, oh, they're really compressed, so you mill, hit climaxes, but then because they were compressed, they cancel anyway. You don't really have that problem with the rim. And then, let's see, the last card we have here is the card obviously referenced on almost everything in this set, and I've got Oh, 8 cards. 8 cards in the set reference this. Only a few of them have been on our top 10 list here, but some of these are played, some of these aren't. But they all require this rim in your memory. So rim's real big. It's a 0/0. I guess the first effect I'll talk about first. This first effect is wild. We don't have many of it in English. The biggest thing is the Fuka from Gun Gale, where you deploy a smoke screen, and maybe you can't take damage of 1 or less. And obviously Log Horizon has the Shiraway that just turns off all auto damage. But this rim is when it's put into your memory, or if it's in your memory at the beginning of your turn, and all of your characters are memory snow, all players cannot receive damage of 1 or less dealt by auto effects of their respective opponent's characters until the end of your opponent's next turn. This is basically just continuous. Neither player can take 1 or less from auto effects. The only time this gets turned off is if you're playing old ReZero stuff that's not memory snow trait. But you can basically treat it as damage of 1 or less just doesn't happen from auto effects. So this turns off Mikasa completely. This turns off the Lisa that Bang Dream plays sometimes alongside Roselia finishers or in the like Aya Lisa combo top end. Turns off Golden Wind, turns off Mai. Like, it turns off a ton of things, right? And it doesn't turn off every deck, and it doesn't turn off every finisher, but it turns off a number of main finishers, and it turns off a lot of decks like side finishers, right? Like Attack on Titan, even apart from Mikasa, usually plays the Eren level 3. It's like during the turn it's placed, if it cancels, deal 1. Decks like Card Captor, like, so even regular ReZero, right? Regular ReZero plays Felt. On attack, you can pay 2 to give a character on cancel, deal 1. Alright, well that's not happening anymore. Reinhardt deal 1's not happening. Futaba deal 1's not happening in Bunny Girl. Just like a ton of things like that. If Sword Art's playing the Asuna Musashi, and it mills a 0, alright, well, the 1's not happening. It gives you a ton of extra survivability against these decks. And makes some of them, like Attack on Titan, like their top ends just become super vanilla. So very meta relevant effect. Like, you're already playing this card for all of your other effects, so there's almost no opportunity cost here. And you get a huge benefit out of it. And then the second effect on it is how you get it into memory. It's Act, pay 1, put this card into your memory, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 memory snow, character from among them, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and put the rest into your waiting room. So it's very similar to things like Okinami, Shizu, Tai that we've seen in the past, where you pay 1, sack them to check top 4. It's pretty much the same thing, but instead of sending it to waiting room, you're sending it to memory. You can't repeat it for deck control as the game goes on, so usually I tend to try to use these later in the game, if I can. I'll use 1 or 2 to get through first deck, and then hold the rest, just for specifically when I need them. But the other thing I don't really understand is why this only looks at top 3. That is correct text. It does only, there's no erratas in this set that I'm aware of, but all these ones that send to waiting room look at 4, and this is the only memory one we've gotten in English, but all the other memory ones in Japanese look at top 4. So, oops, I guess. But it's usually not a big deal. You have so much deck control with the level 0 Rim and Ram, and this card and your brainstorms, like, you can end your level 1 combo mills 3, right? So you can usually get through your deck fine without the 4th card. And you have enough selection that you can get the cards you need, right? So this card overall just very powerful, like no opportunity cost. It's a 2500. You can play it and just attack with it if you have to at level 0, and not really worry about losing the effect. Because like I said, you can get them later in the game. They're easy to find. Like as you play through the game, you're gonna see so many cards. But yeah, like low opportunity cost, high impact. Like it has some kind of effect against almost every deck. Even like I said, the Bang Dream decks like Yukina, right? Yukina decks deal 2, but they usually also play the Lisa on the side that deals 1. And like Mocha decks don't deal extra damage through effects, but they usually play the Kasumi, the trial deck Kasumi that deals 1 on play on the side. So like you're doing something against every deck just about. So overall, this card just has a ton of impact. So altogether, here's my top 10. Lots of just varying effects, lots of cool meta, anti-meta stuff, right? Like anti-burn, anti-standby are cool effects. You get some good memory between the Snow Bunny and the Leave Everything to Me Rim on the Emilia that heals to memory. So you do have a cool memory focus where you get some extra compression alongside like the effects that you'd want to be using anyway, right? You're not going out of your way to get compression on bad cards. So yeah, overall this is a really strong set. The Mayonnaise Human lets you be really aggressive with using your level 1 combo over and over again. And then like Dot Ram, like the deck has no issue just like playing level 0s, like playing costless characters in a climax and attacking over and over and over again. And with both of your level 3 combos here being on gate triggers, you can get your climaxes back quite often. So you're playing climaxes very often too, and being quite aggressive. So where I'd put this on a tier list, obviously I've updated the symbol for ReZero up here, the icon, to be the Memory Snow Emilia. ReZero as a whole I think is definitely still A+. ReZero as far as Memory Snow itself is concerned, I'm not really entirely sure where I want to put it yet, but the decision is between it's either A or A+, right? It's up there. It's a deck that you can play this Memory Snow deck instead of original ReZero, and you're honestly playing a completely different deck, right? Like you're playing an aggro deck instead of a defensive deck, but you're not really playing a worse deck. I don't think. I definitely wouldn't say you're choosing to like you're losing out by playing Memory Snow. You're just playing a different deck, right? And it's a very good deck still. I think it's a deck that people who maybe like playing like the army decks, or like playing, I can't think of anything that's really 8 treasures other than Fate right now. You're not really too similar. You're similar to like early game Fate, right? Where you can be very aggressive and your character's clock encore back. But it does kind of have a little bit of a unique positioning in English, and especially with anti-burn. Like Gun Gale is the next highest set that has that even available to it, so it's definitely got some draws to it that make it worth playing. And I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we see a fair number of teams playing it in one of their slots in the spring if we get a trios season, just because it can hit so many different pieces of the meta that it's a pretty safe call for one of your 3 slots. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Check me out on Twitter, the Facebook group, Global Community, both of the Discords, very active, lots of good guys in there, lots of discussion that goes on. And also, check me out on TCG Player, my store, that I manage Card Addicts. We have Memory Snow singles, as well as all the other recent sets. We have singles up on there, pretty competitive prices. So make sure to check us out and support us. It is how I make my money, so please keep us going. There'll be a link to that in the description, as well as the one here in the video. So thank you guys, and I will see you next time with some deck lists. I know I didn't get them out for Slime. I'm potentially still releasing that, but I'll definitely have some out for Memory Snow. So thank you guys.